Hello. I had a few of you express interest in learning how to make these boxes that I put up on the website. I'm using these for my candle holders for these jars here. I have a 2 7/8 diameter jar and also a 3.15 diameter jar. And both of these I was able to get a box out of a 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbook paper. Now obviously you can use these for wax melts or candles or anything you like, and you can customize these any way that you choose. Now to make these, I used a scoreboard, which is what this tool is here. You don't have to have one, you can just use a ruler, you can use the edge of your scissors, you can use a butter knife, anything just to go ahead and get a nice score line along the paper to know where to fold for your boxes. Also, I used double-sided tape. You can use the adhesive of your choice. Wet glue works just as well. It just doesn't set as quickly, so you want to make sure to give it time to properly adhere. So the box that we're going to make today is going to be for my smaller candles. Now it has the flap with the tab here for an easy grip open. And I do round the corners of everything that I do just to give it a little bit more of a professional look. You don't have to do that. I do have a corner rounding tool, which you can find at any craft store, or you can leave them just as is. Or in the case of this box, I just went ahead and snipped them a little bit at an angle. Anything aside from just a flat edge is going to give your product a little bit more of a professional look. Now for this small box, you'll see that it is just a plain square, and you see down at the bottom we have a pretty thick closure. And we want to do that for stability's sake. If you're using just a regular cardstock, you're going to have somewhat of a flimsy box. This one, because it is a little bit of a smaller dimension, has a little bit more weight to it. It is a little more secure than this one, which spreads the paper a little bit further, and it has a little bit more give to it. So when you're looking for paper, make sure that you get a little bit of a thicker weight cardstock rather than something with the consistency of like a printer paper. Alright, now that you know the materials that we'll need to make them, let's go ahead and get started making this smaller box today. Let me get these out of the way. And that jar. Okay, so the first thing you need to know when you're making your boxes is the dimension that you need. How big is your candle? How much do you need this box to hold? So my particular vessel is 2 7/8 by 3.5. So a 12 by 12 sheet of paper will work absolutely well. We actually are going to end up cutting off a little bit of this bottom portion because we just don't need it. If you have a larger vessel, like the one that was 3.15, you still can get that out of a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. It just will have a little bit less of a secure binding. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, like I said, I don't need this entire 12 by 12 for making my smaller box, so I'm just going to quickly change my scoreboard into a cutting board. And I do want the entire length of the paper, I just don't need the height. So I'm going to turn this into a 12 by 10 and just go ahead and get rid of this strip here. And now this is what I am left with. And turning this back into a scoreboard. Sorry about that noise. Okay, so first things first, along the 12-inch side, we're going to make some scores. So at 2 7/8, at 5 3/4, at 8 5/8, and then at 11.5. And those are the scores for the long side of your paper. Now, when you're using a patterned paper like this, obviously you want to make sure that lengthwise you have the pattern going the correct way. But also you do have to think that the lid of the box is going to be a little bit longer than the base of the box. So you want to make sure that the longer portion that we're going to be scoring right now is appropriate for your pattern. So what I'm going to do is actually turn this the other way so that the base of my box is going to get a score at 2 7/8. And then we're going to score at 6 1/2. So you see that this score mark is much larger than this score mark. Next, what we're going to do is turn the paper over, and you'll see a little bit easier on this side all of the different squares that we've just made. We're going to go ahead and fold on all of these marks, and that's what's going to give us a nice, sharp, smooth, professional box. So we're just going to burnish all of these score marks, make them nice and flat. Nice crisp corners are going to make it look much better. We're going to do the same on the longer side. And one more of these long ones. Okay, so when we open this back up, you'll see that we have several different quadrants here. We're going to go ahead and this 1/2 inch mark here on the top and the bottom, we're going to snip those away up until this center score line. We do not need those. So just cut up that line and then across right here and snip that off. And this can go away. We do not need that anymore. We're going to do the same right here, just straight across, and then again up until we get to that center mark right there. And that as well just gets put away. So now what you have is this with this little flap right here. Now if you turn this over and have it facing the right way directionally, this is going to be your top center. So we're going to cut away this panel right here. Straight to that score line there. And again, directionally up this score mark to meet right there. And again, take that away. A word of advice. If you have something like this that's just too cute to throw away, why don't you go ahead and use it as a customer thank you card? You can go ahead and write a little thank you message on the back, and it coordinates with their package. I think that's pretty cute. Next, we're going to go ahead and on each of these lines, the top and these bottom ones, we're going to go ahead and just cut directly up to this middle score line. So just for each of these, a nice cut directly up to this score line. Not over it, just directly to it. One more on the bottom. And then we're just going to turn it around and do the exact same thing up at the top. Right here, and one more straight down to that score mark. Okay, so right now you have a lot of folds, and it may look a little bit crazy, but if you go ahead and just kind of gently fold this together, you'll see where we're going to have our closure. You see the formation of your box, and you'll see why up at the top we have it a little bit longer. This is going to be the flap coming down, which will fold down here. So that being said, we're going to take these and we're just going to go ahead and cut half of them off. This is entirely up to you how long you would like your inner flaps to be. You can do them a little bit longer, have them overhang. I like to have them maybe about 1/3 of the length. And this is going to have these two flaps coming in, and this is going to hang over. So now you see we're definitely taking shape here. So let's go ahead and work on the bottom. So these 4 flaps down here, the one that is parallel to the long flap here, we're going to leave that one alone. But these other ones, all we're going to do is cut a little sliver off from here up to the middle score line. It doesn't have to be much. The only reason that we're doing this is so that when we start folding them all together, it's not too bulky and things don't start getting in the way of each other. So we're just going to go ahead and cut just up to the center for each of these, a nice little sliver coming out of them. And the last one here. And just like so. And you are now done with your scissors. Alright, so at this point, I like to go in and just make the cosmetic changes that I prefer. Now this is a tool I didn't show you at the beginning, but this is the corner rounder. It just has this little arrow here. It's going to show you exactly the pattern that it's going to make. So on each of these top pieces, I'm just going to go ahead and round those corners. So you see how it gives it that nice smooth finish? It just gives it a little bit more of a professional look, in my opinion. Obviously you can do whatever you prefer. It's your box and it's your brand. But I'm just going to go ahead and finish rounding these corners. Sometimes it gets a little bit tricky and they don't want to cooperate, but we can make it happen. There we go. And just one more over here. Let's go ahead and fold this down. And last bit right here. Where there's a will, there's a way. There you go. We'll make that look a little bit prettier. That doesn't look very nice. There we go. Okay, and so now we have rounded corners on our flaps and a rounded corner up here. Now we're going to take our scoring tool and we're just going to go ahead and score this at 5/8. Just like so. And we'll give that a little fold down. Now's the point where we're going to get our tape or our glue, whichever you would prefer. It is entirely up to you. And I'm going to go ahead, flip this over, and apply adhesive right on the very outer edge here. Right like so. And what that is going to do is hide this little connector here. So I'm going to take the backing off of my adhesive, and I want this to line up precisely. I want a very smooth, clean finish. So I'm going to be very careful with how this lines up. You see how nice and continuous that looks. So at the bottom, this portion that we did not snip any corners off is going to cover the entire bottom piece. So you just decide which way you'd like these to fold. It does not matter at all. So I'm going to apply a little bit of tape here to this edge and a little bit of tape here to this edge. Remove it from this side, and again making sure everything looks nice and square. We want this to be as professional as possible right up to the edge. One more time, we're going to go ahead and remove this tape and get a nice press there. So the only thing left is to put this one down, and to make sure that we get a really nice firm hold, we're going to put tape on all sides. We want to make sure that every single thing sticks, everything is covered. We don't want any secrets being told of our boxes. And so we'll go ahead and remove that tape again. And once again, just being very careful to make sure everything lines up nice and even. Give it a push. You stick your hand down in, make sure everything looks nice and sturdy. We close this here, and there's our box. Now, the last step that I like to take for ease of removal of this is to use a circle punch. Again, this is not necessary. You see, I've used it before. This is not necessary. You can open and close your box perfectly well without this. I just like the ease of access. So I'm going to use half of this circle punch. Just go ahead, eyeball it, roughly center, clip that out, and now I have a nice thumb remove. So when I open here, and now I have a lovely fall themed box for my candle. If you have any questions on how to make this, please let me know. This was the first time I've ever tried to record a tutorial, so I know it's not the best, but I am more than happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see any other tutorials for candle making or paper goods. I do also make dust covers for candles without lids like mine. It just fits directly over the wick and has a pull tab here so that you can easily remove your dust cover without gouging the wax below. I also do make sturdy boxes made of heavy chipboard and patterned paper for compartment candles. So if you'd like a tutorial on any of these or any other items, just go ahead and let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see. Thank you.